Hello guys, it's Teenage DC Fan back in the video. And the past is very important in superhero stories. Often it's what creates, drives, and or haunts the superheroes. Zooming out even further, the genre is obsessed with the past. Just look at how the Arrowverse just adapted Crisis on Infinite Earths and filled the crossover with a whole bunch of cameos of faces from DC TV and movies past. Or Frank Miller's understandable influence on many of DC's big screen properties. That's not a bad thing on its own, because there's a difference between remembering and honoring the past and being beholden to it. But the latest episode of The Flash is all about that. And it is titled Grodd Friended Me and explores how the past can be a weight that holds you back and the importance of breaking free, accepting change, and moving forward. But at the top of the hour, Barry is struggling to make sense of the post-crisis world, and apparently his parents' graves have been relocated, or at least from where they were in the original pre-crisis timeline, because where they used to be, now it is a parking garage. Also, Hartley Rathaway, aka Pied Piper, is back and once again is Team Flash's enemy, and apparently now he can fly and he doesn't need his gauntlets. He has actual powers now. And Cisco is actually still touring the world, meaning Barry is left with Chester and Camilla as the voices in his ear while he's out in the field. And it's a lot of change to handle, and he just wants something familiar, which is why he snaps at Chester when he tries to help improve Barry's Gideon device. And I really didn't like the way that Barry was acting toward Chester in this episode. Like, he was very rude, but at the same time I get it. Like, he's having a hard time adjusting to this post-crisis world. He just found out that he doesn't know where his parents' graves are. And then having this random stranger just walk through your base of operations and basically replacing your normal team in the comlink, that could be pretty stressful. But Chester, though, I'm really liking this character. We've only seen him in a couple episodes this season. I believe he was actually in the first episode of the season, and then after the whole black hole thing, he had to disappear. Well, he had to be in the chamber thing, in stasis or whatever, for like 3 months or whatever. And now he's out, and now he's just roaming around Star Labs, I guess. But after tinkering with Gideon some more, Barry decides to test it out and immediately passes out, then wakes up in a mindscape, specifically Grodd's. And our favorite psychic gorilla has been trapped in a Team Flash-induced coma since his fight with King Shark, and now he wants out. Unfortunately, the only way out of the mindscape is via a gate guarded by Solivar, aka the Gatekeeper, so he needs Barry's help to defeat him. And Barry doesn't trust Grodd at first because of every terrible thing he's done over the past 6 years. And by the way, I like how they have Grodd appear once every season, and I hope they continue that trend for every season of The Flash, because Grodd is a great character. And, I mean, who doesn't love to see a giant monkey with superpowers? I mean, that's pretty cool. But Grodd is... Barry is so concerned with the past that he doesn't even consider Grodd may have changed. And apparently Grodd witnessed the crisis, and it didn't really affect him that much. So he didn't get, like, killed and then brought back in the new universe. I'm not sure how that happened, but something there. And now he is a changed person after seeing what happened with Crisis. And as a show of good faith, Grodd frees Barry from the cage and restores his powers. But instead of helping Grodd, though, Barry lightning punches him, and then zooms off to the gate, where he comes face to face with Solivar. Another thing I would like to note is that while Barry was in this cage, it's not like Grodd just showed up and appeared there. Like, at first he didn't know what was happening, and it was like he saw Harrison Wells and Caitlin, and then he looked in a bucket, and then he saw Grodd's reflection, and that's when he knew it was Grodd. But then, like I said, after he got out of the cage, he still didn't trust Grodd, and he lightning punched him, and then he kind of just walked away, and then he zoomed off to the gate, which is literally just a breach. And then he went to fight Solivar, but he wouldn't let him leave, and Barry was actually easily defeated. But at this point, Frost, Chester, and Camilla have discovered Barry's unconscious body in the speed lab and figured out that he's trapped in Grodd's mindscape, which isn't a good thing. And according to Caitlin, Grodd's mindscape can't handle both consciousness and will crumble from the strain, killing both Barry and Grodd. So Chester realizes his brief tinkering with Gideon caused us and runs off ashamed. Frost chases after him and urges him to come back and help them save Barry to make up for his mistake. But Chester is too scared because of a lesson he learned when he screwed up in his school project as a kid, with a remote control, like flying Millennium Falcon, which honestly sounds pretty cool. And I kind of want that now, but so apparently his teacher told him that they don't get a second chance, and after he refused to let Chester make up for his mistake. And that one line that he said is pretty affecting, because the Flash rarely, if ever, acknowledges race head on like this. And, it's refreshing. And Caitlin's response is great too. So I like the blossoming relationship and friendship between Caitlin and Chester, so that's cool to see. And it's a moment that recognizes superhero comics can acknowledge real issues and potentially be a balm for some of those harsh truths. Meanwhile, back in the mindscape, Grodd tells Barry that he's changed since being trapped and finally sees the error of his ways. Again, Barry doesn't believe him, but then Grodd explains he simply wants to be freed, so he can go live in Gorilla City with his fellow gorilla people. And that is the only place where he'll ever be happy. That's the only place he's ever felt truly happy. So something about that strikes a chord with Barry, and he realizes that he needs to let go of the past and stop trying to keep things the way they were before the crisis. And that empathy also gives him the solution for beating Solivar this time around. We need to run forward, not backward, by fighting together. So cut to Barry and Grodd returning to the forest to face Solivar. This time around, Grodd and Barry fuse minds to become Gorilla Flash, and that's just what I'm going to call it. And I'm 100% convinced that we only got this episode because some writer pitched this visual, everyone loved it, and they all worked backward to figure out how this could become an entire episode. And you know what? I don't care, because watching Grodd run around with super speed and having a red lightning bolt on his chest, with lightning trailing behind him, is epic. This is probably the coolest thing I've seen all week. I mean, big gorillas are cool anyway, but then give them super speed, damn, that's pretty cool. Let's see, shorter. Gorilla Flash defeats Solivar before the mindscape crumbles, and Chester overcomes his own past and plays a pivotal role in separating their minds before they return to the real world. So, once again, the day is saved. But once they are back in the real world, Barry welcomes Chester to the team and asks him to quarterback from the Cortex while he speeds off into the field to confront Pied Piper again. And tonight's episode also features some major twists when it comes to the season's villains. First, it's revealed that Eva created not Iris, or mirror reflection Iris, and is essentially controlling her in the world. Although Iris doesn't know. Iris the real Iris, simply believes that Eva is scared to try anything because of her past failures. So I believe that Eva will be the main villain of the season, and with her sticking her hands through the mirror and them getting burned up and stuff like that, I have a feeling that that may be the reason that she will have to wear the orange and green Mirror Master suit from the comics. And this is basically going to be our Arrowverse Mirror Master going forward, I guess. So that's cool that we're getting that comic accuracy there. But meanwhile, while all of that is happening, Nash tries to fix things with Allegra, who got angry after finding out her doppelganger was his daughter / ex-employee, and that I'm kind of confused by that. Like, was she actually his daughter, or was she just an employee for him that felt like a daughter? I'm not sure on that, but unfortunately, Sherlock Wells appears to Nash. And if you don't know, he was the Wells we had last season, there to try and defeat Cicada. So Sherlock appears to Nash before he can do that. Before he can fix things with Allegra, and things get pretty crazy because then we see Sherlock's eyes go red and his face starts blurring, going full on reverse flash mode, and then he says he is coming. That's right, Reverse Flash is coming back, and honestly this isn't really a surprise because Reverse Flash has literally been in every season, no matter how small his role is. He has at least appeared in every season, and he is the main Flash villain, so of course he's going to return. I hope he's not going to be like a main villain again, at least not now. Like, maybe I'd like to see that in the final season of the series, but not now. I think Eva will be a good main villain, but we'll have to wait and see how all of that plays out, though. Now, just a few other things that happened in this episode, smaller things that I didn't want to throw in with the rest of the stuff, is Joe tells Reflection Iris he can't help her with Joseph Carver because it would violate police procedure. So Iris stands Joe up for lunch, sneaks into his office, and steals the files. That was pretty crazy, and that's definitely not a thing that real Iris would do. Also, when Barry said, "Run, Grodd, run," I think it was pretty cool to see that. Like, I love to hear that. It was weird and definitely not something I thought I'd ever hear. But when you actually see it, it's pretty awesome. I also, one thing I don't like about this episode is how the Arrowverse can't help redeeming villains. Like, Grodd joins the list of Captain Cold, Heatwave, Damien Dark, and several others. Villains are my favorite part of superheroes. So then when they make them heroes again, I don't really like it. So I wish they hadn't done that, and I hope that Grodd is maybe lying and that he's not changed and he's still going to be a villain the next time we see him. But let me know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hope to see you in my next video so I can bestow all my DC knowledge upon you.